sorry. I am.
You ready to go on stream?
Yeah.
I think I am. Yeah.
Goodbye, Res. Oh, there he goes. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Bash. That starts out.
Hello. Hi. Oh, like. Did you start the game too, or like?
No. You're just you're on the stream.
Yep.
Count down whenever you're ready.
Well, I'm ready to start in
Is this thing on?
3.
What's up, guys?
I'm starting 3, 2, 1. Now.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
So, what's up, Edzan? You're the learner.
Not
You're
much.
cool. So this is Metroid Prime for the Nintendo GameCube. It is a like single stick first-person adventure / shooter. Basically adventure game with FPS controls, but it's like single stick, not dual stick. So you'll see some interesting movement, lots of technical movement, flashy tricks and whatnot. We have a first boss known as the Gate. I just saw that Edzan got phase 1 out of the way, and I'm assuming he got phase 2 cleared out. It's kind of interesting because you don't have the HUD ready to go, so you can't actually lock on to objects for a couple of seconds. So phase 2 of the Gate is easier just because your HUD's already ready to go. I don't know if you want to add anything, Edzan.
Not really. Other than, I mean,
Frigate sucks.
yeah, it's gonna be tough.
So Space Pirate Frigate's the tutorial level. It takes about, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes depending on whether you do inbounds or out of bounds tricks. You may have noticed that Edzan used what's called the scan visor to lock onto a computer-like screen and then just jump off of it. He's abusing a trick known as dashing, and that's actually really important for prime movement in general. Dashing abuses the lock-on mechanic and just the strafe jump, where you can like sort of dash to the side. It allows you to sort of move and dodge enemy attacks. What happens is when you release your lock-on, shortly after you input this like side dash, you'll sort of keep the momentum of. It's weird. Like you keep the speed boost, but then the way the game calculates your momentum is different than when you're locked on, and so you get to jump just like much farther distances to the left and right. And we'll be abusing this trick to do sequence breaks, jump to areas we couldn't really jump to normally, or just faster in general. It's for speed, sequence breaking, and a lot more stuff.
It's one of the
Also, shout out
fastest
to,
movement
Fusion.
techniques.
What's up?
I was adding on that dashing is like one of the fastest movement techniques in the game.
Yes.
Second to boosting.
You'll see a variety of movement being used, especially if like there's no lock-on points available. Rolling in Morph Ball, for instance, is faster than walking. Jumping using what's called L jumping, which you'll see during the escape sequence, is faster than walking on your own. Also, shoutouts to me not mentioning the bomb jump strat used to skip the elevator in a couple of rooms ago.
Oh yeah.
I think it saves about. People say it saves about like 8 seconds over it. I think it's been judged to be a meme. It's like something like 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah, roughly that. I'm gonna stop talking
So
for a
assuming
few
this
minutes.
fight goes well, you'll see a pretty quick kill on the first boss here, Parasite Queen. Nice missile bounce. So that's Parasite Queen, first boss. It's weird because it sort of introduces you to the scan visor, and you're encouraged to lock onto enemies or to scan enemies and get information about them. What happens for Parasite Queen is that you scan it, and then it locks onto her weak point, her mouth. You're by default locked onto her body, which does like half damage as hitting her mouth. But the hitbox is still there, so you can just aim up manually and then shoot missiles, and she dies. Yeah, so C-Strang 100% involves the item collection. There is a the game does track scans, but there's not officially in the item counter that you see on like the save file. So what Edzan's going for here is a way to do what's called a wall crawl. It's basically out of bounds movement. So by morphing and unmorphing in a certain spot, I don't know the exact mechanics of this particular out of bounds. Basically, he's just trying to clip using a morph or non-morph. There we go. So now that he's out of bounds of the game out of bound movements is kind of weird compared to other titles. really it's hard to explain, but basically every room in the game has a bounding box surrounding it. Whenever you're inside the box, which is practically every normal game, when you're doing normal gameplay in bounds, you're affected by physics and gravity. Now, if you're outside of the box, whether you're to the side of it, below it, or above it, at least when you're not in Morph Ball, you won't fall down. Actually, the game engine will actually slowly rise your like Y coordinate position, and so you can slowly but surely rise up. It's kind of crazy. You could just like stay outside of a room and then run the game for days, and it's kind of weird. But
it rises you by something like 0.03 units.
Really small number of units per second.
Yeah, it's very, very small.
So by abusing the way that the game physics work by going inside and outside of the bounding box, you can do what's called an aether jumping. We call the aether just anywhere that's outside of a room's bounding box. And then you also might see Edzan sort of morph and like just land on a certain segment of like the ceiling of a room. That's to hit what's called a load trigger. That forces the next room to load, or it's the basically piece of like not collision, but just an area where if you hit it, if you run into it as Samus or Morph Ball or whatever, the next room will load. But out of bounds frigate's kind of interesting. It saves a little bit of in-game time, and it's a big time save for RTA. It's about like 2 minutes RTA, I think. Saves you from having to watch like an additional Ridley cutscene. And you also might notice that if you've played Prime casually, God, Icefire. What's up, Icefire? So there's like a cutscene where Samus scans an elevator, the explosion happens, and she loses like all of her suit upgrades. Kind of a trope with the Prime 1 and 2. What happens? The game will still check and remove your items even if you skip that cutscene. So we're starting off with just the fusion suit here.
Because the game actually takes your items twice. Once then and once just when you hit the ship on the overworld.
One thing I probably should talk about, going back on topic, so we abused a scan dash to, I like how I say we, like it's a team effort. Edzan abused a scan dash, as you saw on the frigate, to land on a ledge that normally you're not supposed to go until a little bit later in the game to get space jump boots. They're still a relatively early item to get, but the normal game developer like intended item sequence is you have to go through Choza Ruins, get various suit, go all the way to Phendrana Ruin or Phendrana Drifts to get like boost ball and come back for space jump, and then come back for wave beam. Getting space jump now, it just kind of breaks open the early game entirely. We can get to places that normally we couldn't get to without space jump.
You can
that's
do this.
kind of
Dismissal
that's
expansion.
kind of not accurate. There are a lot of areas like with bombs, for instance. You can get to areas that you would otherwise need space jump for. Space jump is just it's a really good way to sequence break. It's a good way to reach areas faster than if you didn't have space jump. I believe you can actually get like every expansion in the game, for instance, without space jump.
Yeah.
X% NSJ is a category for that. And then you'll see a lot of like abuse of like bomb jumping and stuff in like 21%. That's like the low percent of the game, where you don't have space jump, you don't have boost ball, no spider ball. Although you don't get spider ball in like any percent either. What kind of sucks about 100% though for Choza Ruins is I believe you visit it like 3 times. It's either twice or 3 times, and it's just boring. Right now we're just collecting Morph Ball. In any percent, you would collect an energy tank in this big like hub room, but we're not going to see it here. It's actually faster to collect it later. So what is a little bit riskier with 100% is that you fight Flogger with no energy tanks, and while it's certainly possible and it's not the hardest thing in the world to do,
actually no.
still a bit dangerous.
You fight Flogger with actually 2 E-tanks.
Oh, you do have 2 tanks at that point. I'm sorry.
Because you get 2 of them after IBBF.
Oh, that's right. I was assuming the inbounds are out.
Yeah.
That's right. IBBF is a thing in 100%. That's a trick that you'll be seeing later, or a strat you'll be seeing in just a bit. It involves us getting, or Edzan will get bombs first from the incinerator drone. We'll see him in about 2 minutes. And then we're just gonna skip all the way to the second half of Choza Ruins, kind of a mid-game area you're expected to be at with when you have more items. So while Charge Beam doesn't necessarily unlock anything in terms of progression for the early game, it's fantastic for combat. It does Charge Power Beam does 50 damage when fully charged. Your damage output especially against like the Chozo ghosts that we'll be fighting later in the run, just makes fights a lot faster.
The Chozo ghosts have 200 health, meaning it takes 4 shots.
Yeah.
So
Or
doing it
100
without charge
individual
would
power
take
beam
something
shots
like
too. It's kind of ridiculous.
yeah.
I'm so used to doing like inbounds runs that I keep forgetting that out of bounds changes like the item order for 100%.
Yeah, quite a bit actually.
Although you don't have to do early wild, which is good. It's kind of a shame. You won't be seeing any instance of infinite speed this run, and it's a really cool trick, but it involves getting to a piece of collision, whether it's by out of bounds or just more commonly, at least for inbounds, you have to like sort of squeeze yourself into a stack of boxes, like in between a wall and a stack of like breakable boxes that have items, and then you like hold a direction for a minute or more, like 50 seconds, like RTA, depending on whether you have any lag frames. So this is Zoid, or Incinerator Drone, created by David Zoid Kirsch, one of the senior like software engineers of Prime 1 and 2. Complete auto-scroller / RNG boss. There's about 35 seconds, or exactly 35 seconds of variance in this fight. What happens is the first phase takes between 8 and 13 seconds for the sort of red eye to come out. That's the damage. That's the part of the mini boss that you can damage. And then phases 2 through 4 take anywhere between 15 to 25. Or no, sorry. Is it 15 to 25 seconds?
Yeah, 15 to 25
Okay.
seconds. That was a really good fight.
Oh, nice. I'm still watching it. I'm kind of behind, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So you ideally want to kill Zoid before the music loops again. Wow, that was actually pretty good. Did you get the frame perfect on morph?
You gotta get the E-tank, or the missile tank.
There's a really small time save you can do in 80% where you have a bit of time before when you like you have control over Samus, but then the dialogue box saying, "Hey, you got bombs," loads and just lets you unmorph sooner.
It's a 1-frame window.
It is 1 frame. Wow.
So yeah.
So we'll be heading back towards what's called the Gathering Hall room. It's sort of a pretty big, like, vertical, not like a shaft, but just a big room with lots of vertical platforming in it. We'll be abusing some collision to go out of bounds, and then this will be the start of the IBBF sequence. And then IBBF stands for Ice Beam Before Flagra. It actually was used in 80%, except now you can do the IBBF sequence to save time over inbounds. But it's actually done well after you fight Flagra. So what Edzan did or does, I'm not sure if he's gotten it yet, which he did. Okay, cool, I just saw it. He abused what's called a slope jump, more of the original term for it's called a ghetto jump, but I guess GDQ didn't like it. And by sort of rubbing against the slope and jumping against it, you can actually gain more height off of the jump. So in this case, it was to go out of bounds. IBBF is a pretty challenging out of bounds segment to learn and master. Plenty of places where you can fall down. Certain points where you have to go into morph ball and drop onto the top of like a hallway to load the next room. But so far, this is looking pretty good.
So I made that look pretty easy, but
Oh, you look
that's
at the
only
ghost.
because I've been doing this wall crawl for well over a year. It's actually an incredibly difficult wall crawl.
Yeah, it's a lot of that's like way harder than it looks. What happens if you do you still have the ghost skip available even if you trigger the fight, or?
Yeah. As well as for any %.
Oh, okay.
Because the ghost fight doesn't disappear until you kill the first ghost. So it's always going to be there.
So it just resets the fight.
Yeah, it just resets the layer.
So those early ice beam in the first 15 minutes.
14.
14, excuse me. That's right, we're talking in-game time. So by jumping on that peg, and then jumping onto this, the bomb slot where the spider track ends up, you can activate those bomb slots and skip spider ball completely. It's actually really convenient. One of the best things about having space jump. There's a variant you can do without space jump, but it's ridiculously hard.
Dang it.
Or it's not hard, it's just really just irritating. And then what Edzen's going for, at least from my point of view, is by killing the ghost and then activating the bomb slot, he overlaps 2 cutscenes, saves on RTA and in-game time. And the main time save for it is, again, the cutscenes overlap, which saves you the RTA, but then it positions you right in front of the statue, so then you can just go into Morph Ball and have it bowl you into this room with the energy tank. We'll have to come back later. There's one additional item that's actually required to finish the game. I mean, we're running 100%, so we have to collect it no matter what. But it's actually a story progression item to get, or it's an item that called a Chozo artifact that with 11 other artifacts, so there's 12 total. Basically, they do nothing but unlock the final level. Oh yeah, so there are the 2 E-tanks. So this will make the Flogger fight like ridiculously safe. I mean, with enough practice, the Flogger fight's not too hard. It's just if you feel like the first dash, you have to go around the morph tunnel in there, and you can potentially take lots of damage depending on how you're positioned and what Flogger likes to do, based on where you're positioned and if you're moving.
Having 2 E-tanks really helps, though.
Yeah. Flogger could do lots of damage to you in Power Suit. Nice kids meal missile.
Yeah, well, it's kind of required.
I mean, I get it in any % no matter what, so
Same.
I'm always happy. It's just a shame that we won't be seeing Energy Core. So, you saw Edzen do a bomb jump and then immediately just unmorph without the animation occurring to get a lot of height and then just make it up to this gate quicker. That's called a BSJ, or bomb space jump. It involves doing a bomb jump and then unmorphing while the morph ball is obstructed by something. So there's like something in between the camera and like where the morph ball is. So if you have anything obstructing your view while in morph ball view, instead of an animation playing, you immediately just get instantly unmorphed. And when doing it a certain way after a bomb jump, the game will think for a maximum of 21 frames that you're still standing on the ground. So then you can just input a jump. The main application for that in Prime is for spider lift shafts, but you won't be seeing that in 100%. So the Flukester is kind of dumb. Just this big, long, like almost auto-scroller kind of fight. Just lots of cutscenes. Not really auto-scroller of a fight. It's just most of the time this fight, you'll be seeing cutscenes. The actual portions of the fight are fast, and what's funny enough is that like it's 2 minutes worth of cutscenes and the actual fight, but in terms of in-game time, it's like a 20-second fight.
20 to 25 seconds, depending on what you do.
It's stupid. And then jumping to like the various suit takes like less than a second, or from there to like the door takes about, I don't know, 1 to 2 seconds, but it's like 30 seconds of cutscene. Game runs at 60 frames per second. More accurately, it's 59.94 because of NTSC, but just to make it simple, it's just 60. What's interesting about the Flogger fight is that you don't actually have to go into the morph tunnels to damage Flogger. You can just jump to the sides of the bomb slots and then lay a bomb next to them. It's really
Even
nice
for the first one.
It's a really nice way to abuse the boss fight. You can actually also use the Wave Buster attack to damage Flogger, but it's not fast. You don't get it.
I don't get that till an hour into this run.
Yeah. So again, lots of cutscene. It's worth it though because it gets its various suit. You could technically skip Flogger and have a minimum of 3 energy tanks, although it's extremely hard with 3 energy tanks to go through Magma caverns. What happens is without various suit, you take damage from the extreme heat. It's like the sort of like lava-based region in the game. You ideally want 4 or more.
I think only 5 people have done it with 3 energy tanks.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I think 3 of them have done it this past year.
Yeah, I was one of them.
It's ridiculous. I don't know like how many frames of variance it has or whatever.
Well,
you just need like
it has about 20 energy of leniency.
So yeah, so getting various suit just protects you from heat. Gives you a 10% damage reduction too, which for 100% isn't that big of a deal. That's only collecting plenty of energy tanks in the run anyways. In any percent, it's a bit more of an issue during late game where you can take like 9 damage per shot from certain space pirates. Oh no, you fell down.
Oh no.
There's a required trick for any percent where you have to like abuse, do some like physics abuse and like rub against a wall and do some bomb jumps to get back up to the top of that platform. It's a run-ending trick if you don't get it, but it's required to get a Chozo artifact called Early Wild.
Well, it's just
100% faster to come back later. You can get it with just Spider Ball and with like a clever bomb jump from what I believe Whiskers demonstrated, but I don't know how tough it is as a trick. So we'll be coming back with supers and Spider Ball. Supers being super missiles. Super missiles in this game work differently than they do in like 2D Metroids. Basically, every beam in the game has an associated like missile combo, where you combine the charge beam for a particular beam weapon, like a power beam or ice beam, and then with missiles you can launch like a pretty powerful attack. So for the power beam, its combo is the super missile. It's the only technically quote unquote required missile combo in the game, or beam combo I should say. It destroys certain terrain or material. It's kind of nice to like clean up Magmor, like most of Magmor, in just one go. There's still a couple of late game areas that that Edzan can't quite get to yet.
Well, Magmor is basically a straight line, so it's pretty easy to get it all in one go. Yeah, it's a straight line and it's like the smallest region in the game. It works as like sort of a connector, almost like a hub region between Choza Ruins, Talon, Overworld, Phendrana Drifts, and Phazon Mines. Well, not Choza Ruins directly, but it connects a lot of the major areas in the game. And then it's pretty small and it doesn't have that many items. If I remember correctly, Magmor was supposed to be bigger in the original concept of this game. I don't remember if it was Magmor.
The only thing I know about
Magmor
region was that Thardus was intended to be a boss here.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So I believe geothermal core was supposed to be the room that Thardos was fought in. Yeah, don't skip race tank.
Yep, I won't.
It's an optional energy tank, and any percent, you lose about, I believe, 8 seconds. Unironically. But since it's 100%, it's required. Dude, I feel awkward. I'm running out of stuff to talk about, even though Prime is like amazing. I believe right now Edzen's in a cutscene. It saves on in-game time, which is why we stay in the cutscene. What happens is Samus will walk forward and it actually resets her position. So by waiting for a certain point in the cutscene to happen, Edzen will be placed farther forward, and that'll give him just enough time to do a scan dash. So because we're going to be staying in Phendrana for a bit, we'll be going to get Wave Beam, then Boost Ball, I believe, then going to Pirate Lab straight afterwards. Yep. And any percent, normally you collect Boost Ball first, and then from there you go to this Chozo Temple here, and collect the Wave Beam from the Sheogoth boss fight. And that boss fight can actually be skipped with a out-of-bounds sequence called Wave Sun. It combines out-of-bounds movement with the infinite speed technique, and lets you collect 2 items at once, both of which are required to complete the game. One's the Wave Beam, and then one is a Chozo artifact that's hidden behind a bit of ice that you normally need Plasma Beam for. So, in Hundo, it's actually interesting that you come back and make a second trip through with Plasma Beam just to get this artifact. There's also a inbounds version of the Infinite Speed where you have to do the boss fight, but you can collect Wave Beam and then collect the Chozo artifacts to go through like this particular Ice Temple portion of Phendrana in like one trip.
So there's roughly 2 points in this run where missile management is going to be important. Right now is one of them. It'd have been nice if I had more missiles.
Yeah, you want to have about like 6 or more missiles. I mean, the more the better, depending on whether you can get the quick kill.
Well, at this point, 15 or more missiles is ideal.
How many?
15 or more missiles is ideal at this point.
15.
But I have 9.
The crates are usually pretty decent on missile drops. I think that one stack near the actual adult Sheogoth coming out wasn't very good. It was just energy, I think.
Yeah, it was unlucky.
Yeah, you can abuse Sheogoth's vulnerable to damage after it breathes like this ice breath attack at you. But by laying a certain bomb, or by laying bombs in a like close enough to it, it'll sort of recoil back and take extra damage. So I think with optimally 6 missiles, you can kill it.
3 is the least, actually.
Oh, okay. I just suck then.
4 is the average, I think. 4 or 5.
Kind of interesting that you do Ice Temple first, like before even doing anything else in Phendrana. I mean, what's important for the first trip is to get Boost Ball and Wave Beam. Boost Ball is the fastest form of movement in the game, barring scan dashing, or really scan dashing is just dashing, like the large like sideways jumps you see. You can do them with any visor, as long as you lock on to something and then release your lock on. So if you might hear me say like something like a combat dash. I'm never gonna say X-ray or thermal dash because that's weird.
What about a grapple dash?
I don't want to talk about it. Does that actually work? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, if I get a good cycle, I'm gonna do one later in the run.
Oh, like through Twin Fires?
No, MQ or Fungal Hall B.
Oh, okay. Skull, I don't know the route at all. I'm so rusty on 100%. I just know that you go to labs and go from there to like Plasma Beam.
Well, you're learning the route now.
I could look at his splits and actually just get myself caught up. Oh wait, I still have your YouTube video loaded of your PB, so I know exactly what's gonna happen. Not really.
Well, a little bit faster.
I'm terrible at this game, so. So you see that like getting space jump early saves like so much time. It saves you from having to backtrack all the way back to Talon, which is dumb. And then by abusing some slope jumping, you can just climb this ruined courtyard room without needing to like do the puzzle. Normally, you're supposed to fill the room with water and then use the sort of like the small iceberg platforms that float on top of the water to climb the room. But with a couple of well-timed or a couple of well-executed jumps, and you can just climb it without having to do any puzzle.
Oh, that is so nice.
I'll see it in a bit. That was actually pretty nice. The double kill.
The optimal way to do that room is to actually use missiles repeatedly in those pirates, but I didn't have enough to do that safely.
Yeah, it just sucks that early hundo, again, you don't have that many missiles. I think you still have at least like, what, 30 at this point, I think, or 40?
Yeah, I've got 35, I think.
Okay. Yeah, any percent you collect a maximum, or you need 25 missiles to for any percent. Usually, like, I go for 30. When I was like newer to the game, I would collect 35. I'd maybe grab an extra one depending on like if I was short on missiles for like the end game, like for Phazon Elite, but that's pretty rare. Oh, that's unfortunate. You can climb this room without having to kill the pirates and doing the boost ball sort of puzzle by doing a well-timed scan, or with a well-executed scan dash. It's
for this
scan
room.
Dashing involves like two things. Oh, I'm sorry.
For this room, the pirates constantly shoot at you as you're trying to climb it, and their shots will cancel all of your speed if they hit you at the right times, which can easily cause you to fall to the bottom of that room, and then it just messes everything up.
I usually try to like freeze them or just kill them outright.
Well, if you kill them all, then the two in the top are going to fall down, and that's not what you want.
Yeah, that's true. So you just want to, yeah.
Also,
by backtracking back here, it's just to collect the missile expansion that you otherwise need with the missile on, with the super missile. It's kind of funny too that like when you collect the super missiles in Hundo, you fall all the way back down to the bottom. Normally, what happens is by completing the observatory puzzle, the platform that the super missiles rest on lowers, and so it just resets your position to you're gonna be right here, so you won't fall. But by skipping the puzzle, you're just below it, and so you just fall all the way down.
So there's a pirate fight trigger that you'll be seeing me avoid here.
Hopefully. You have to like stand just outside the door. It's really, you have to be careful.
Hitting it causes a very long and annoying pirate fight to be initiated, and it just wastes so much time.
So that jump that
you can jump right around it.
edzan just did skips needing the plasma beam. It's interesting. You just jump over where the force field is and shoot a missile, and you're good to go. This item is required. It's a Chozo artifact, so in any percent you have to come back here and grab it. Although it's not too out of the way. Any percent goes through labs backwards, and so you never go into the observatory, which is where the super missiles were. You're sort of like in and out pretty quickly. Edzan only has 78 energy. It's not that much, but there's an energy tank coming up in this next room, so it's really it's of no consequence.
I've actually still died trying to get that energy tank before because the pirates knocked me around.
The pirates can be a bit annoying. They're not quite as bad as troopers. I don't think they do that much damage per shot. Troopers do like 10 base damage, and I think it's like 9 with various suit. Oh, you didn't give Edward a hug with Ice Beam. I'm sad. You just let him in. Edward's the space pirate that breaks through the glass. He's nobody. He's a meme.
He's a very big problem for beginner prime runners though, because there's a chance that he won't break that glass if you're doing any percent. And as far as I'm aware, it's not actually a chance. It just matters whether or not you go through that room consistently. And newer players usually don't go through it consistently. And
yeah,
so
you have to like slow down just a bit before entering the room. I think it has to be loaded and he has to be like positioned in a certain spot or something like that. I don't know. Basically, I wait a little bit before I go up into that room from the bottom. Also, what's neat was that little morph track you just skip by jumping onto it and you just roll into the missile expansion at the end. So yeah, pretty fast pirate labs. It's a really cool, like, sort of atmospheric, you know, like, dangerous area in, like, casual play, but a lot faster when you can go fast, so. There's still some cutscenes that are annoying, but
so right now I'm doing the last backtrack of the category. Otherwise, it flows really smoothly. I'm just going to be getting Plasma Beam and then heading all the way back to Vindrana.
So yeah, we don't fight Thardus just yet. Thardus actually takes 1.5 times more damage from Plasma, even though normally you're not supposed to have that beam in the fight.
It also takes less damage from ice, although if I remember right, you don't have ice
It takes
either
no damage
at that
from
time.
ice, as far as I know. It kind of sucks you can't route in. Well, I guess you. So do you save Thardus for last, like you do in 80, or like you would in 80% if you were like a new runner? So you would go get like the power bomb expansion first?
Nope. You still do it when you do it.
Okay. I guess it's slower overall too.
Yeah.
I only asked that because like I play a lot of randomizer, and it's neat in randomizer if you have power beam or power bombs and plasma beam for Thardus, because you just can cheese through that fight pretty quickly. So see by using another scan dash off the that like lava clam thing. I don't know what those things are called. They're
It's
weird.
a lava hamburger.
Lava hamburger. That's right. Lava hamburger. Delicious. You can just skip needing grapple beam. You don't even have to scan dash off of them. There's a slope jump you can do onto like this metal box that you can then jump off of. It's actually where you would jump off of in 90% to start the puzzle. And you think, oh, there's this cool spider track that opens up, and it's, you know, kind of hard. You can fall off pretty easily if you run into the enemies on there, but nope, you can just jump up onto this like spider ball track here and do a well-timed slope jump. It's kind of risky if you don't get a good slope jump off of it. And then you have to use that in combination with, I believe, a R jump to get enough distance as well as height. So R jumping is like L jumping. What happens with L jumping? I haven't really touched on L jumping much. By holding down the L button right after you jump, what normally happens when you don't do it is Samus will kind of decelerate and then speed back up with her horizontal movement. So by holding down L for like a quarter of a second, you skip the deceleration part and ultimately have more, have a larger jumping distance. So you can jump farther. R jumping is a variant of that where you hold down the R button and it sort of like locks your velocity. It's kind of it's weird how the physics work for it, but I guess to sum it up, you can jump farther distances than L jumping potentially, but you have less control over where your jump goes.
Quite a bit less. As soon as you press R, whatever direction your movement is going, it's going to keep going that way. You can influence it
but
a bit, but otherwise you're generally going to go in the same direction you're going when you press the button.
Although it is nice, like in Phazon Mines, it's a late game area. He mentioned that like your velocity kind of gets canceled out if you get shot. I don't believe it does if you're doing an R jump though.
Yeah, I don't think so. Or it does, but not as much. I don't remember.
Yeah, if you know you're just going in a straight line, they're pretty safe jumps to make, even if you have enemies. Although there's a faster strat that normally you do in the one room I'm talking about that you'll see later on the run. Actually, like towards the end. There's like this one room that's full of space pirates and they shoot at you, and with a well-timed like either scan dash or combat dash, you skip having to use grapple and spider ball. Invisible ledge. I'm confused.
I didn't jump on any invisible ledges.
Oh, did you? I wasn't even. I wasn't paying attention. Did you dash off the pirate and then make it to the door that way to get into Phendrana?
I don't remember.
Oh, that sucks. You can. It's kind of a precise timing, but you can actually like boost upwards to clear walls while you're still in morph ball. Otherwise, you have to wait a second and lay a bomb. And then with a scan dash, you can just clear to the other side of this cave room. Although, we need the item that's in here, so we'll jump back to the bottom. There's an annoying hunter Metroid here that can like shoot this like electrical beam at you or collide into you. Really slows down your movement if you get hit. Oh yeah, and Geocore. So by skipping the spider ball track in there, he was able to jump onto this ledge that has a really small amount of collision on it that you can stand on. And then by slope jumping off of that, you can just or Raul, he didn't even jump on the invisible ledge. He just did the R jump. That's why. There's an alternate strat to get plasma beam that doesn't require needing spider ball. It's just a little bit slower, but it's a lot safer. In this large like open room in Phendrana, he abuses that kind of collision though, much like you would if you were doing that safe strat to get the plasma beam.
This is my least favorite room in 100%.
It's my least favorite room in 21%. Yeah, Phendrana's Edge is a pretty bad room. You get a nice, convenient power bomb expansion. First one we're getting this run, actually. It's required along with Plasma Beam to get an artifact. Kind of a late game artifact, actually, when you're doing casual gameplay.
Well, you're not supposed to be able to get it till you've already visited mines. But
yeah.
Power Bomb expansions act just like the regular Power Bomb item.
Yeah.
Except for one aspect.
There's one aspect, yeah, it actually doesn't even have to do with the power bombs itself. It's just that's the item that's tied to that location.
Yeah.
So that'll be later on in the run.
Well, it was intended to be power bombs, so I guess.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Yeah, in randomizer, it doesn't actually have to be the power bomb item itself. It's just the item you collect in that room.
Yeah.
But for vanilla game, it's just nice ghetto twist, by the way.
Thanks.
Top tier meme. The highest of tier memes. I'm getting too technical with my stuff, dude. I need to relax.
I think it's fine.
Just watch you cheese every room in the game possible. I don't know if everyone heard that. I was pouring myself some soda. I apologize. So goodbye, Fusion Varia suit, the best looking suit in Prime. But we're gonna get the Gogurt suit instead. Gravity suit's interesting. You can skip it for just about everything. Getting into the crashed space pirate frigate without gravity suit is annoying, but you can clear all of it without gravity suit.
Really?
But since we do have to go to frigate, I mean it doesn't matter since we have gravity suit. So
I'm gonna be so upset if I don't get a power bomb. I haven't gotten a power bomb in 5 days.
Oh yeah, that's right. We only have one power bomb. We ideally want to get a power bomb before going back to Magmor. Magmor has really bad drop rates for power bombs, and unlike in Prime 2 and 3, what drops from enemies in like crates is entirely random. They're weighted by like a % chance that they drop. So like, I think overall you have like a 1 in 7 chance of getting power bombs like in the pirate labs, and it's like something stupidly small in Magmor for the rooms that you're in before mines.
Well, I'm going to Thardis right now.
Oh yeah, we're doing Thardis first.
And no power bombs.
So what's neat about having a power bomb for the Thardis fight is that
It saves 25 seconds.
yeah, it saves a bunch of time. The last like phase of the fight, he has this basically you destroy individual rocks on him and they all have a set amount of health except for the the last rock, which has like twice as much health as the other ones. It's almost like a fifth